Miss Kathy Haigler.
Yes.
She is with the Haigler Agency. Hello, Kathy.
Well, hello. What a wonderful evening this has been.
It
I'm
has.
so glad you could be with us tonight.
Yes.
Me too.
Now, the Haigler Agency. Tell us. Who
All
are
about
you?
Well, Kathy Haigler Agency, and I'm an independent insurance person, and I work with a broker, Symmetry Financial Group, which is wonderful. And so having that relationship, basically I get to go out to 30 different carriers who are all at least A rated, and majority of them are A plus rated. And so all the clients that I work with, I basically get to go shopping for them.
Oh, I like that.
Individualized.
Yeah, individualized. Okay.
Which shopping is one of my favorite things.
Oh, it's mine too.
And so it's nice. You put their information in, and out of all the carriers, the ones that they qualify for pops at the top, and then I take the best of those and take those options.
Now, what kind of drove you to this type of work?
Well, the majority of my life I really have spent in marketing, and I came to a time where I was making a transition, and the opportunity came up, and it was funny because I was like, well, I just don't see myself in this role.
Okay.
But then after I started doing the work, it really has just been a life changer.
Okay.
And so being able to help people, and there are so many people who do not have retirement. And so being able to help those folks, and then people not having mortgage protection. And you find out after you're doing the work, and you see families lose their homes, bankrupt, when their significant other passes away and they haven't planned. And so, but being able to go and insurance isn't the way it used to be. And mortgage protection isn't the way it used to be.
So tell us a little bit about, about how it's changed. Tell us a little bit about the mortgage and protection. Now, and I was looking at your website. It looks like there are a lot of different types of protections that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So the first one is mainly we handle the mortgage protection. And what's nice is that it used to be, before we had the economy problems in 2007, 2008, you would find your mortgage protection in the mortgage. So you just checked a box, and you were covered, and that was fine. And so if something was happened. But now what happens is when we had the big economy crash, they basically took out the lender, they separated the lender from the insurance person. And so now you have to be intentional once you buy a home to go and get the mortgage protection. And so basically, and then the difference, what they did too, is they were finding the insurance carriers as a whole, many of them, not all of them, have the living benefits.
Right.
And that is a huge part of what really has just made me passionate about my work.
Okay.
Well, because like I was saying earlier, honestly, what you do, nobody wants to talk about it. Because one, they think it's so morbid. Because, I don't want to ask mom, I don't want to ask dad, do they have life insurance? Because then they're thinking, I can't wait for them to kick the bucket. It's not like that. But it really is. It's a conversation that you don't want to have. And then if you're able and healthy and all of this, and you're young, you go, I'm going to stay young forever. You know
That's
what I mean?
exactly right.
And I remember there was a time, even I remember this, is when, there was that monarch of the family that kept those policies in the Bible, and that was where you kept them. And even a child was born, the first thing you did was buy a life insurance policy. Married, first thing you did was buy a life insurance policy. What I see now, and what I hear people do, is the first thing they will let go is a life insurance policy. Because they can't keep up the premiums. But there's some policies out there, if I'm not mistaken. This is not my field, but like the premiums or something will pay for it, or something of that nature. I know you probably can't go much in depth. I'm sure that someone can call you afterwards. But I just wanted to.
No, that's perfect. So there's one product that's one of my favorites. And so it's indexed universal life. So what's nice is that it has some insurance in it, but then your premiums, it's a savings account.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so the earlier you start, a lot of people will do this for their children. And so if you just put $50, $75, $100, you're compounding over all of these years. And what can happen is that you basically see your savings go up, and even if you start early enough, you can even have $1 million or $2 million based on what you're putting in for that child. And then along the way, they can take money out for college.
Without penalty?
Without penalty.
Okay.
Because it's essentially your money. It's your premiums that you're putting in there that's basically compounding. And so, yes, it's almost like it's your bank.
So on the education part, I'm glad that kind of segue into the education part, saving money for college. Because I know there's a lot of people out there, and I'm going to tell you, 5 years old turning into 10 years old, 10 years old turning into 15, and then, you know, sometimes it's just between putting clothes in the washer and helping with homework and going to work, you just kind of forget that, and time is not stopping.
Right.
It's so
And
true.
it's just that, I mean, so when do we, and then when we think about college, literally we're probably already 5 years behind.
Right.
So, I mean, what tips do you give those individuals about the tips on this is how you can save for your child's college education? This is one option, in other words.
For sure. So with the IULs, basically because you put the money in, and because it compounds, you essentially, and you know, a lot of people will use plans where I think it basically is only allowed for school use, so that's what you have to use it for. But what's nice is that if for whatever reason the child ends up, they're not going to college, then the money just continues to compound, and it's not a problem. You can use that money for anything.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to use it for college, when you get, the earlier you start, the better. And if you start later, you know, maybe if they're 5 versus just 1 or 2, then you'll just want to add more money so it compounds. And then when you get to the time when they need to go to school, then essentially you would take it out at that time, and after they finish going to school, you can start putting money back in again. And if you want to, you can keep putting money in then.
Okay. Now you have something that's called the critical, I think, illness insurance. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's something, as we're living longer, maybe something we need to look at. I know there's disability, but a lot of us, if we find ourselves sick, you know, that money, that little nest egg that we've saved up might just disappear in no time. So tell us about the critical care insurance.
So in this case, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's nice about this, the same fund, the indexed universal life. You can basically, whether you're starting it for a child or whether you're using it for your own retirement income, it's the same principle. Always the earlier you start,
The better?
the better, because it's going to compound. But so then when you get ready to retire, you have set it up to where you can start to draw an income.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
So that helps.
And what's nice about it is we will often say that the money will come to you for as long as you live, even if you don't know your own name.
Okay.
So you can count on it.
Wow. So, okay, so if I am going to look into funds for my children, what do I need to bring you? Oh, I know the first thing I need to do is make an appointment. The second thing I need to do, I mean, what data do I need to collect? Because, you know, I mean, I know that when you're talking to certain individuals, they think that they know what compounding is, but they really don't. And then the thing about it is, do you Dr. Seuss it
Yes.
to make it seem as if it is, no, this is where you need to go? Because I feel like that's the biggest turnoff and why people don't do this. or get started is because of the knowledge is so much, so overwhelming. And they don't know how to break it down. And they just want to like, oh, look, all I want to do is be able to do X, Y, and Z. I don't need all of this other stuff. Don't try to push this other stuff on me. But it's basically they just don't understand it. So, I mean, what do you, walk me through like an appointment. You come to my house? Do I come to your office? What, I mean, I'm sure you just, your office is your car, I'm sure. Because I'm sure you're all over the place.
It is. It's true. So it's interesting. Another thing that I've learned while I've been doing this, and make sure I answer the question, but making sure, one of the other issues or concerns people have is who can I trust?
Yes.
And so I've had a bad situation personally on who to trust as far as financial advisors, people who help with this kind of thing. And that's part of my passion about helping people in general.
Right.
Is that my number one thing is to make sure that they get what they need, and it's affordable and suitable to their needs, and we work to get there.
Okay.
So when folks come, I just basically, my office is in my home if I'm not in my car, and so then I'll often go to their home, or we can meet out somewhere, whatever's best for them. But essentially, we do a quick call first, and talk through who are we covering, who's the policy for, whatever type it is, talk about the health, age of that person, and then again, that's the information I put into the system, and it pops out for whether it's
this or that,
whatever it is. And then I meet them, go through the options that they qualify for, those best ones, and it's really that easy. If it's one of the IULs, that's one of my favorite things to do because it's just long term.
Makes sense.
It just does.
Takes care of so many different things.
Right. Yeah. And you're going to spend the money anyway on a policy. So why not look at the big picture?
Now I'm going to ask you this because how old do you need to be to start your own life insurance policy? Because the one thing I've always hear people say is, I got this connected to my job. I'm thinking, oh, okay, great.
So and what's wonderful, we always say people whoever can get insurance through their work, get as much as you can because it's so inexpensive.
Right.
But it should never replace your own personal insurance.
Perfect.
That you have a personal policy because you just don't know if you're always going to have that job. You might decide you want to leave that job. And you may be older when you make the decision, and it's always best to get that insurance earlier because you're going to get better premiums.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that because if you have been paying into a policy all this time and then they let you go, that's not guaranteed you'll have that policy.
It's not.
Okay.
And most of the time, there's a couple of different, like when you look at government jobs and you look at those kinds of jobs, you can usually take it with you. But even those jobs, it'll get less and less over time. So that's why people really need to consider getting their own personal insurance.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Now, how do we reach you?
Either at HaiglerAgency.com, or my phone number is 804-517-0272.
And Kathy is also another person who also will answer her telephone whenever she, as well as text. So she'll answer your call at any time. And the one thing I would really advise a lot of people out there to do, you know that I do give a lot of tips on businesses. I really think when you own your own business or you're a contractor or anything like that, you need to call Kathy. The reason why, and it's entrepreneurs tonight, you really had a vast amount of individuals up here tonight that really could help you. Number one, you are not walking across the hallway to HR to sign up for life insurance or anything like that. Kathy would be the number one person that you would need to sit down and go to and say, okay, this is what I have. If you start small, you can end up big. Okay, that's number one. So Kathy, thank you Okay.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I'm going to say is number 2, if you are a entrepreneur or if you are in a business, make sure that you talk to IOTA and get in touch with them, because they just enhance what you do and in the community. And also number 3, if you are also an entrepreneur, make sure that you call Davy Sell, because as an entrepreneur, you need to make sure that your records are correct when you are going for a loan or a mortgage loan. And you have to understand what you need to produce. And I'm just telling you that because a lot of times we forget that that we have to have, as business owners, we are the business, and we have to make sure that we produce all of the information that is necessary. So like I said, you want to definitely make sure that you reach out to all our guests tonight. But Kathy, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being
Yeah, and
with
one more
us
time,
tonight.
it's www.
HaiglerAgency.com.
Okay, and phone number one more time.
804-517-0272.
So please reach out to Kathy in reference to education. She said that's the
IUL.
IUL, and also the other products that she carries, because she says
lot of
she has, you go through 35, 36 carriers?
A little over 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's like
Carries,
great.
that's a lot.
So just wanted to say thank you so much to all of our guests. Once again, Davy Sell with the Sell team.